Everybody, welcome to A Cow's Opinion, the only show on the internet where I, the cow, will give you my opinion on all the latest, greatest, and sometimes really terrible gaming news, happenings, events, games, whatever it's going to happen. And you can take it with a grain of salt because it is a cow's opinion. Therefore, it doesn't matter. It is a moo point. Now, today, we are going to look at a couple of things. First off, Netflix gets more into gaming as it's opening a video game studio in Finland. Now, Netflix recently, as you guys have known, is not been doing bad, but also not doing super blockbuster numbers anymore. In fact, a few people think that they might go the way of Blockbuster. So during the pandemic, Netflix, like a lot of streaming services, was gaining a ton of subscribers and money, and they're putting out a lot of shows, but some people criticized that, the shows were just catching on because we were all bored and in our homes because of a certain worldwide event I can't mention by name in the first 8 minutes of this video, or it will get suppressed. And I'm already wanting to boost my low numbers. So, Netflix got into gaming. And they entered it. It was only, not even been a year, guys. It was November of last year. And it bought Finland-based Next Games for $72 million at that time, and has purchased 3 external games. Now, they do have some really cool games, actually, including the Stranger Things game and the Queen's Gambit chess game. And there are some problems with their gaming. First of all, as this article on CNBC recommends, it's in its early stages, and there's just not a lot of people playing. Netflix has over 200 million subscribers. Less than 1% of them are engaging with the games on a daily basis. Now, for a lot of other gaming groups, 2 million people a day would be huge. But Netflix really needs to use these to get people more attached to their content. So, spending probably hundreds of millions of dollars in under a year for 2 million players is not really what they were thinking of. And Netflix did not respond. They said it's still early days, and we have much more work to do to deliver a great games experience on Netflix. And here's the good news. Games have no ads, no in-app purchases, and they can see the games offered within the Netflix app, but the games themselves download as individual apps. And that, I think, is the big problem. First of all, lots of people watch Netflix on their laptops or PCs, or on consoles. Now, but you can't play them on your console without getting the individual app. You can't play them on PCs or laptops, period. They expect you to do... There's like a 5-step process to download and connect these games to your Netflix account. And in fact, most gaming websites have found it so weird and hard to use. It's obtuse. I don't know any other way to put it. There's literally not only step-by-step instructions, but certain video game websites had to create videos showing you how to do it. It's ridiculously stupid. It should be one app, and it should be playable on your PC and your laptop, and everything else should just flow through that app naturally, like when I use Crunchyroll, or when I use Netflix, or Disney+. So, again, I don't want to bash on them. I think more games are great because it gives you more choice and breeds competition. I don't know how well this is going to go, but it hasn't even been a year. It's been 10 months. If they continue, maybe they can finally get a handle of that, but I think they really need to revamp the strategy. It doesn't make any sense, you guys. In other news, speaking of things about a certain worldwide event that we cannot mention, Variety, as well as countless other resources and websites, have said that E3 returns in 2023. Dun, dun, dun. Just when you thought it was dead, it's back, and it's angrier than ever. Well, it's not actually angry. So after a 3-year absence, E3, historically the game industry's biggest confab, is scheduled to return to the LA Convention Center the second week of June in 2023. Now, as we know, E3 was canceled, much like all other personal activities, due to worldwide happenings and things that certain people still don't believe happened. I don't know why. And unfortunately, it's been one of the most missed things, honestly. Now, in 2020, it was just 100% canceled. The entertainment, what does the ESA stand for again, damnation? Entertainment Software Association, excuse me. Now, so they always ran it, and now they're working with ReedPop, which is an event production company behind PAX, Comic-Con, Star Wars Celebration. ReedPop actually is a pretty good company. They make things a little more fun, a little easier, a little better. They're probably just, if you're going to have to come bring it back after a 3-year absence, it's probably good to get a new company with some new ideas to help you bring it back in a big way. So, the Entertainment Software Association had an all-virtual 2021, which was, alright. But then this year, 2022, got canceled altogether due to ongoing spread concerns, and it said it wouldn't host virtually either, and instead decided, you know what? We're going to do really big next year when this is even further behind us. Now, a lot of people, including the cow himself, were really surprised by this because all virtual E3 was not actually terrible. It's not really what we wanted. We want to see the big production, the surprises and everything. But, everyone understood. So to go from all virtual to just nothing again was a very strange choice by the ESA. Now, there is going to be a major change that this actual article does not go into for some reason. And I don't understand why, actually, because it's a really big change. So, as you know, E3 is traditionally a 3-day event. But one of the concerns about a lot of these kinds of events is how crowded they are. Even when you don't have certain global happening concerns, there are, safety issues just because of fire marshal. We've seen pictures of, Comic-Con and other things where just 2 times as many people are crammed into a building as probably legally allowed. It's really, really weird. So E3, in consultation with ReedPop, is actually going to do something different. The past 3 years have confirmed that E3 convenes our industry like no other event. But it's going to be a little different. So the last couple of E3s that were in person, 18, 19, and 2020, I believe, they had industry people, but they also had fans and personalities and YouTubers and Twitchers and such. And it was really crowded. It was really hard to do anything. So E3 is going to be run a little differently in 2023. Basically, the first day is only going to be for the industry insiders. It doesn't mean that, some big web channels aren't going to have, people on and showcasing games and stuff. But it's going to be closed to the public. The second day is going to have a combination of industry people and public and gamers. And then the third day is all going to be just the public and gamers. That's kind of a cool thing to do because, really, from what I understand based on articles, by the third day, all the industry insiders are pretty much done with all their meetings, and they're just trying to showcase the game to as many people. So, saying, hey, we're going to do all business and then, woo, we're going to party at the end is kind of a cool way to do it. And I hope it does really well. I hope people like it. The cow will not be attending E3 unless 40,000 of you subscribe in the next month. So, hit that subscribe button down there. But no, I don't think that we'll be going, guys. I'm sorry. First of all, it's going to be really expensive. And in 2019, the last time it was held in person, convention drew over 66,000 people. So this is just a way to let the industry insiders get all their business done, and then the gamers come have fun, and then the personalities on the YouTubes and making videos can also have plenty of time to make the videos and get even more press. E3 is huge. Literally, I'm not kidding. If you just come up during this era of closed off things, you may not even understand how big this convention was and how it could literally, I said it 3 times, it's important. It could set the tone for games, for sales, for who's going to win the console war that year. Is PC gaming going to be big? And they've also said in a couple other articles I referenced that they're really going to, ReedPop's really good also about getting more indie stuff. They want to get more indie games. They want to get more smaller companies. So it should be a really interesting thing to do, and I hope it does well. E3 is one of those things that I really don't want to go the way of the dinosaur. We've lost so much over the past couple of years. We got to hold on to our fun where we can. But go ahead and let me know as we move on to the next stories. How excited are you for E3? Are you ready for it to be big again? Are you ready for it to be fun? What about Netflix? Here's a question for you. Have you ever even played a Netflix video game? Let me know down below. And let's move on to the next story. Moving on to our next story, which I actually can't believe is a story because, well, the cow kind of forgot this was a thing. Google has officially killed Stadia, the cloud gaming service that was supposed to revolutionize gameplay, and is refunding everyone. So today, Google has announced that Stadia is going to be shut down on January 18th, 2023. Now, even more impressive than that, and we'll go into why that's more impressive, everything is getting refunded. All hardware purchases will be refunded through Google Store, and all software purchases will be refunded through the Stadia Store. Every single cent that players have made for hardware or software on Stadia is coming back to them. And Google has, all big companies do this. They will do some big tech programs and they work for a while, and when they don't, they just ditch them. I mean, it's Google. If it's not making money after a few years, they can either pivot harder or just say, you know what, it's no biggie. So for those of you who maybe just started watching YouTube or playing games in the last couple of years and probably don't even know what Stadia is, Stadia was Google's attempt to revolutionize games. They were trying to do a completely streaming service. So, what does that even mean? They were trying to make it to where you didn't have to buy hardware to play the biggest AAA games. Now, that's a big promise, but with a lot of payoff. See, most console makers actually lose money on their consoles. Nintendo is the exception. Nintendo actually makes a bit of a profit on every Switch, but those Xboxes, those PlayStations, they lose money on those to get you into their system. And gaming PCs are even more expensive than hundreds of dollars for consoles, because a good gaming rig is going to cost you between like $1,200 to $1,500. If you want to go huge, you can easily drop thousands and thousands of dollars just on your tower. Not counting the specialized keyboards, monitors, headsets, mouses. The money can add up really quickly, is what the cow was trying to tell you guys. So when somebody said, hey, what if we made it to where all you needed was a controller, and then you could play whatever game you wanted? That's a pretty big thing to do. And so Google, if anyone was going to do it, Google was probably going to be the one. So Google launched a few years ago with a lot of big talk, a lot of big promises, and not so much roaring out the gate as whimpering and limping. See, the concept is pretty good. The problem is, first of all, most people in America, which is where it was being released, don't necessarily have the best internet setups for online streaming only. See, to constantly cloud game, you have to have a pretty solid internet connection. And a lot of households use Wi-Fi, which can be interrupted, as well as they might not have necessarily, they might have a plan that allows you to play like a game, or allow a couple people to stream different things on Netflix and Disney Plus or Amazon Prime or whatnot. But to cloud game, you need a pretty damn solid internet connection, and a lot of people just didn't have it. Not to mention, well, we'll get into more of that too, right now actually. The other issue was that it was kind of expensive, which is really, really weird to say. The whole point of this was to get rid of expensive hardware. But while Stadia did add new games, most had to be purchased a la carte, making it a steep investment for the casual audience it was aimed at. They were just trying to get newer people. Again, they were trying to get the gamers who did not really care about hardware. But then, during all of this came, surprise, Xbox Game Pass, which is that massive, huge library with a single monthly fee. Stadia, meanwhile, reportedly struggled to get big games on its platform, spending tens of millions for Red Dead Redemption 2. Stadia would get big games, but it would be like 8, 12, or longer months after it come out on your PCs and your consoles, because they were really concerned with how Google was paying developers back. I mean, Xbox Game Pass is really good. It, like, rents games for a while, or they just put the entire Xbox first party lineup on. And of course, Xbox has been investing a lot to get more first party studios. Hell, they bought Bethesda. They are probably going to have Activision Blizzard. Those are some really great stuff. You could build a Game Pass with just those two studios. Now, and the problem is that other people are wondering if Google was ever actually committed to the start. See, Stadia had some first-party studios, but they all shut last year, and they didn't really do well with it. And, trying to build your own gaming service is really hard. You can get a couple of really good first-party studios to put stuff out only on you, but you can't necessarily guarantee that you're going to have the Mario, the Sonic the Hedgehog, the Halo, that real big, I gotta invest in this game, that makes you want to purchase it. I mean, think about every successful console launch ever. There was at least one, for almost all the successful ones, there was at least that one killer game that released at the time of the console release or very soon afterwards that made you say, oh yes, this is what I want to play. Now, Kotaku is also reporting that Harrison had told the Stadia staff that Microsoft buying Bethesda had been one of the reasons for the closures, convincing Google that the price of competing in first-party development was more than it wanted to pay. Microsoft is spending God knows how many hundreds of millions of dollars to beef up their selection now. They're taking advantage of this economic downturn, and a bunch of these AAA developers looking a little shifty. Is like, well, do we actually have it possible to survive if we have a couple of bad years after the pandemic? Can we do that? And Microsoft comes here with a dump truck of cash and says, yeah, you can. We'll just pay you for the next couple of years until things get better. Why not? And yeah, I can understand why Bethesda took that cash. I can understand why Activision Blizzard is going to take that cash. I don't have to question it. It's a pretty good strategy. Why take a chance on surviving yourself when you're having, especially with Activision Blizzard's problems in quality control and PR, why take the chance that you might die off and be sold for peanuts and pieces when you could just take a huge buttload of cash for it? Why not? Now, that's not to say that this was doomed from the start. It's a really good idea. I just don't feel like the internet infrastructure worldwide is there. And again, they had a real hard time. First of all, no really huge first-party games that made you say, I have to get Stadia. And the other third-party studios they were really, really just not into this. They didn't like how it looked. They didn't like anything. The tech was impressive, but promised features were missing, and the launch library wasn't very impressive. That's not good, guys. When you're trying to convince people not just to get a new way to play, but a revolutionary way to play, you gotta come out like swinging a massive hammer and just busting down walls. And Stadia didn't really do that. You guys may or may not remember those weird Stadia commercials that didn't really make a lot of damn sense and got mocked on the internet for doing everything but selling you on Google Stadia. So Stadia VP Phil Harrison, who I saw people were mocking him on Twitter, he doesn't necessarily have the best resume. A lot of projects failed on his watch in a bunch of different companies. And while Stadia's approach to streaming games for consumers was built on a strong technology foundation, it hasn't gained the traction with users that we expected, so we've made the difficult decision to begin winding down our Stadia streaming services. Now, you'll have access to your games if you have it. I don't think a lot of you guys do. Through January 18th, so they can play a little more. Hopefully, all those first-party games will be there. And hey, good news. First of all, everyone's getting full refunds. Even for the fact that Google has tons of cash, the fact that they are getting refunds to everybody for every cent you've spent is actually impressive. And actually is a little concerning to me because it makes me think that just a lot of people didn't spend a lot of money on Google. And so they're like, hey, let's just get a little good PR and spend the money to reimburse everybody. But while Stadia is dying, the tech behind it will still be available to industry partners for other joint ventures, like AT&T's recent attempts to bring Batman Arkham Knights to smartphones via streaming. And since Google was ready to bail, was ready to bail, been coming for a while now. But one of the more eyebrow-raising was when Microsoft announced Assassin's Creed Mirage will come to Amazon's Luna, but not Stadia, which was the first game in that series to do so. So just a reminder, this is how they... Sorry about that. Blew out all of our eardrums. This is how they kicked it off with...
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. Thank you all for joining us. I suppose I should start out with a confession. I'm actually not a big gamer.
Yeah, so, look, this guy is actually a really good CEO, and he's been doing pretty well with Google. But that doesn't inspire a lot of, confidence in your, don't let the door bump you on the way out. Can we please stop pretending that service-based cloud computing is the future of gaming? It's a stopgap, but the entire idea is technically unfeasible, dumb, and greedy. Now, of course, it is possible that it is still the future. The way Google did it is done because they don't have any first-party library. But once latency is solved, and it will be for many in the next decade. Yeah, that's another thing, is that when you stream everything off of a cloud gaming, you can't afford any latency. And again, a lot of people use Wi-Fi and not Ethernet cables, because now there's so many wireless and Bluetooth enabled devices in the house that people don't want a bunch of cable. It's not cool like in the early aughts to have a bunch of cables going through your dorm room or your first apartment to hook up all of your stuff to the internet like I did. I had to run massively long cables for my first apartment from the entertainment center across the wall, under another wall, under a window, across the wall that my bedroom shared with the living room, and around and under my door. Thankfully, my door was raised up enough to where the cable would squeeze under it. We had to use, like, putty or something to hold it against the wall. It was really weird, just to make sure that I had a connection, because really I didn't have Wi-Fi that was very good, and I wanted to play games, and the Wi-Fi was even more terrible than it is now for this kind of thing. I heard some guys very loudly discussing physical versus digital media in a nearby empty mall. One of them that said streaming is the future. I sure hope not, because it will cut a lot of people out of gaming entirely. And that is the problem. I mean, the service-based cloud computing is the problem. Google Stadia was a really cool idea. The technology was not there. The games were not there. And the infrastructure is not there. Those are the three problems you have to solve. First, technology. Latency and Wi-Fi. You have to make it doable over Wi-Fi. The average person is not going to buy massively long Ethernet cables to plug into their Wi-Fi router to ensure that they get a solid connection to their TV or the little box that they're streaming it from, or however that you decide to do it in the future. And the latency sucks. There are hilarious videos that you can find on YouTube of people who are they are pushing buttons and they're trying to... You know what? We'll edit that and we will do this. So here's a video I found, you guys, while I was thinking about it, just to put it on this news video. We tested Google Stadia. The input lag is horrendous. And I just want to show this to you.
You don't need an expensive console or PC to play. Stadia streams games directly from Google's data centers to your devices.
Which is a good idea.
Streaming music or TV shows, but with high-quality video games.
The problem is, unlike TV or movies or streaming services for entertainment, they only come one way. You have to input commands to game. And it's not really doable. You see that?
can't even look around.
Look at that. And it keeps varying, as you've seen. So you can't even adjust to it. He tested it on a high-speed internet connection. Look at that. Now, it's better on mobile, apparently. Possibly because mobile gaming already has some better infrastructure and stuff that they can see.
Flash air maneuvers.
But again, launch like that, most people who want a game don't want to necessarily do it on their phones when you're playing Call of Duty or other stuff. Also, you saw that to play that game on your phone, you had to freaking attach that weird controller thing to it, which people don't want. So those are the three problems you have to solve. You have to solve the tech, which, as we've seen with the latency test, they never really got to solve. It got better, I'm told, but it didn't really get solved in its entirety. The games were not there. You could buy all the games earlier every other way because people were a little unsure about it and because they just didn't have a big install base. So Google even had to shell out tens of millions of dollars to get games that other people had for months or even a year or two earlier. And then the infrastructure. The infrastructure is just not there. Not enough people have fast enough internet connections to do this. You saw in this video, this guy's in a professional office building for a technology company. He's got like 700. Most people don't have that. And even then he had latency. So you've got to solve those three issues. And maybe someday somebody will at a cost-effective level. But for now, Google Stadia, you were that weird, crazy dude we knew back in college. But your time has passed. And we salute you as you go off to Valhalla. Moving on. As a mini update, as you recall, I showed you Fantasia and Penny Blood, both of which are callbacks to some fantastic JRPGs that have been away from us for too long. And as you can see, their Kickstarter is over. They were asking for $100 million, and they raised 3.8 times that amount. Good on them. This was an amazing Kickstarter from some very cool old JRPG creators. The Wild Bunch and Yukikaze? I think that's how I pronounce it. I apologize. They cleared their initial goal to make the games. Then they're going to get console versions. They're going to have New Game Plus, 8-bit battle remixes, card mini games, costume and weapon swaps, and mascot swaps. I don't even know what all that stuff means. Penny Blood didn't get as much stuff for it, but it still gets Fusion Monster, Melee of Madness, Thrilling Dog Races, How Much Torture Can You Take, Cacophony of Chanting, BOI Special Case Files, which are probably additional quests, Call of Baby Cthulhu, I want that, I don't even know what it is, Extra Language Pack, Lottery Tickets, In Pursuit of Magical Radiance, The Jewel of Alchemy, Ryunkaku Citadel Training Pit Fights, basically, a Pedometer. It looked like it's going to have a massive world, so that's kind of interesting. Secret BOI activity records. The Golden Age of Jazz is probably additional music. Gods of Death Encounters. Post-ending novel. The Punishment Squad. The Hellhounders. I don't know what that means. Zombie Mode. The 7 Deadly Sins and their incarnations. And an expanding world of madness and those who dare to tread upon it. So they got a lot of stuff. And meanwhile, Fantasia over here got even more. Got a row chain system, 20 puzzle boxes, more background music, a bounty system, costume chain system, more whistling, more gadgets, player notes, vehicle racing, time attack, additional language, a treasure map system, a battle arena, an achievement system, 3 new arm types. I believe those are the guns that you can use in the game. Possibly also the weapons that the other 2 characters use, but we're not sure yet. survival battles, prologue chapters, hell yes, background music customization, an animated intro, a challenge dungeon, additional force breaks, another world plus. Fan-damn-tastic. And I'm just, oh, look at that. That's cool. I'm just so happy that all of this TSFR, don't know why those ones are in red on that one. I saw that. But it takes place after First World War. Takes place in dying wilderness. So, yeah, big callbacks to Wild Arms over here. Big callbacks to, I believe it's Shadow Hearts over here. Some great games I've gotten to play. Here are the characters again. Yay. There's your gameplay. This hasn't really had any gameplay, but on Fantasia, you can see on YouTube, has already been putting stuff out there. I think it's a little bit further along than Penny Blood. Some really cool looking enemies. I mean, look at these things, man. The locations are Western Punk Settlement and at Times Square, New York, Prehistoric Ruins or North Tarrytown, Island Excavation Site or Tokyo. So you're going to get to go to freaking multiple continents on this one. That's cool too. The music is going to be just beautiful. Key points. And then here's their teams. There's their campaigns. I mean, they had some really, really cool stuff. A lot more physical stuff than I usually see. The thing about Kickstarter is you have to be careful not to have too much physical stuff because it can really drive up the price of fulfillment. But, yeah. So, it's really cool that we're getting more strategy games. I mean, hell, this Harvestella is coming out in November. The Tactics Ogre remake is coming out in November. Fire Emblem is coming out in January. Octopath 2 is coming out in February. Don't even know how I'm supposed to play all these damn games for you guys, but I'll find a way. Maybe I'll just have to win the lottery and quit my job or something. I don't know, but we're going to move on to our last story. In our final news story for the week, Sony is trying so hard to catch up to Microsoft Game Pass with PlayStation Stars, and it's already making gamers mad. Not just any gamers, Japanese gamers. And let me tell you something before we get to this story. If you upset your Japanese fans, you're screwing up majorly. The Japanese are some of the most polite, forgiving people you ever meet. If you're upsetting them, you are in the wrong. That's just the way it is, okay? So, PlayStation Stars, which is not out in the West yet, is the newest thing that PlayStation is trying to do to combat the Xbox Games Pass. And, you know, get a bigger... it's really just trying to give you benefits and cool stuff so that you will use PlayStation. And that's not bad. So it comes with a 4-level system. And you... kind of like a mini RPG. You start at 1, and then you work your way up to 4 as you buy games and earn trophies on games that you play. Not terrible, honestly. You're going to be buying your games on the store already, and you're going to be playing the games, which is going to unlock the trophies already. But some people are upset that the level 4 tier unlocked after buying 4 full-price games from the PlayStation Store and earning 120 rare trophies, not terrible, but 128 of them, rewards players with improved customer service. Now, the issue is that Sony has a level 4 perk that says when you contact the PlayStation customer support, you will be given priority in the chat if you are level 4. Which means that if I'm a level 4 PlayStation Star member, I go to the top of the line whenever I have an issue with my PlayStation account or game or anything else. Now, the Japanese site Automaton, which is a really cool name for a site, I'm not going to lie, pointed it out on Twitter, and many followers have expressed their frustration at the perk, with some pointing out that good customer service should be a standard and not something you have to pay or play for. And you know what? They are correct. This makes absolutely no damn sense. You're just literally giving it to people who... It makes no sense why they would even do this. If you wanted to have it at level 2, That's not a terrible thing, but level 4, the top of the line, you're literally just giving it to like your streamers, your people who are going to be spending mass amounts of time on PlayStation, which are probably the people who are going to need customer support the least. You say the more you play with it, the more you prioritize customer support. But the more you play with it, the less you use customer support, which is what I just said. There's something off about that. You should give priority to beginners who are new to the game. Others pointed out that PlayStation stores would have been more useful had it launched last generation, as it would have given a legitimate way to make sure die-hard Sony fans would be able to buy the PS5. So, it's going to roll out in the Americas on October 5th, Europe and Australia on October 13th, and it's not sure if we're going to be having the same perk system. This is not a good look for Sony. I understand that they're trying to like have a cool, quirky little thing. Now, buying 4 full-price games is not terrible. I mean, some people own. The bad thing about that is that some people are only going to buy like a couple of games a year because maybe they like 100-hour or 1,000-hour games like The Witcher 3, and you play that for 6 to 12 months or longer. So it's going to be really hard to 4 into 128 is 32. I don't even know if there are 32 rare trophies in the average game either. So. Now, it might be that it might be cumulative. You don't have to get them just off of the games you buy on the store, in which case that's a little better. But this is not great. This is a really stupid thing to do, honestly. I'm not sure why PlayStation has decided to do it. I know that I keep coming back to it week after week, but right now Microsoft is doing really well. Their Game Pass is a phenomenal, and I can't recommend it enough, a benefit for anybody who console games. I'm not into this console generation, which is the only reason I don't have it. And they are buying up a lot of studio talent. Let's take a look at that real quick. So, with the power of editing, we are now here. So, here's the recent stuff that they bought. First of all, ZeniMax Media. You say, what is ZeniMax Media? Oh, that's only stuff like Bethesda, id Software, Arcane Studios, and some other really good studios that you probably don't know. But they're best known for The Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Wolfenstein, Doom, Quake, Dishonored, The Evil Within, as well as Ghostwire Tokyo, Redfall, and Starfield. Something else that they're buying? How about Activision Blizzard? If you need me to name who the hell these guys are, I don't understand what you need. But all of these studios, Blizzard, Treyarch, Infinity Ward, High Moon Studios, which is grossly underappreciated, needs to be allowed to make other games because their Transformer games were fantastic. Toys for Bob, Raven Software, Sledgehammer Games, Vicarious Visions, which is now merged with Blizzard, Beanox, and Radical Entertainment. Their games are just, Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Diablo, Hearthstone, Overwatch, StarCraft, Candy Crush, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Guitar Hero, Skylander, Spyro the Dragon, and upcoming Diablo 4, Overwatch 2, and the next Call of Duty. So right away, those two just alone under their publishers. And you want to talk about their developers? How about Rare, which, hasn't done a ton of stuff, but is still responsible for Sea of Thieves, which is, you may make fun of it, but it's making decent money. It keeps getting expansions. About 343, which is in charge of Halo. This one actually is a little less because Halo hasn't been that good this time. The Coalition, which makes Gears of War. Mojang Studios is only known for one thing: Minecraft. Ninja Theory, which is Devil May Cry, Disney Infinity, Hellblade. Playground Games, which is for Forza and Forza Motorsport. Undead Labs, which is State of Decay. Compulsion Games, which is Contrast and We Happy Few. They make really cool, quirky games, if you don't know it. Obsidian Entertainment, which is the massive Western RPG studio. How about Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, Neverwinter Nights 2, Fallout, South Park, The Stick of Truth, Pillars of Eternity, The Outer Worlds, Grounded, and still coming The Outer Worlds 2 and Avowed. How about In Exile Entertainment, which is Wasteland 2, Tides of Numenera, I can't even pronounce that, but another great RPG studio. And how about freaking Double Fine, which I will never forgive for not letting Space-Based DF9 come out, because damn you for that. But they still make Psychonauts, Broken Age, Brutal Legend, Costume Quest, and Grim Fandango Remastered. And they've tried to buy Discord. Only because Discord rejected... You gotta have some pretty big balls to tell Microsoft we don't want your $12 billion. And also Square Enix, which has refuted the report, claiming that it's not selling off the company or any part of its business. Obviously, this article is old because Square Enix actually sold all of the Western things for a measly $300 million. And I say measly because any one of their top 10 to 15 IPs that were in that can easily make $300 million a year if you just let them make a decent game. The point is, PlayStation's trying to catch up to Microsoft. It's not going so well. And this kind of stuff, where you're insulting your customers and telling them, hey, you've got to give us X amount of money and Y amount of playtime before you are guaranteed good customer service, is not really what you want to be doing. Well, that's all the news we have for this week, guys. Thank you all so much for everything, because we do need to make sure that we are keeping up with the news. Guys, I hope you have a really good week. It is October now, which means that it is getting cooler. And after the heat wave in my good old home state of Texas, God knows I'm ready for it. Guys, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought about all the stories here. If you like this, if you want more of this, if you want more of anything, let me know. And play more games, because games are awesome, and you deserve awesome. I'll see you guys next week. And uploads coming up all this week of great games just to show you some stuff.